Venezuela, Part 1. Well, Venezuela has the distinction of being the first country we started making these coins for under the law of 1874. And it began at a rather unique time in Venezuela's history when Venezuela was undergoing a transition in its coinage. Up until 1874, the coinage was quite different, and all the standards and everything were different. But 1874 to 1877, they had a particular standard that you see part of here. There's a 5 cent, or 1 cent, I should say, an un centavo. Supposedly, some of these exist as proofs. I've never seen that. And then there was a 2.5 cent. 1876, yeah. Barely make that out. Unfortunately, that seems to be a very difficult coin to find at all. So I only have a very low grade specimen. 1877. Another un centavo. These are made at Philadelphia. And there's also the 1877. $2.5 centavos. You can barely see it, but that's what it is. Dos of medio, actually. Now, the curious thing was that except for what these things were considered worth money-wise, they were the same weights and measures as would be followed in the very next era. That would begin coinage production in 1879. But U.S. had nothing to do with any of those coins. Nor did the U.S. have anything to do with the coins made in 1874 through 1877, other than these 4 that got into the silver denominations. Only the next denomination up, instead of being a fourth of a Bolivar, would have been basically like 5 cents on the Bolivar, and the next bigger one would have been like 10 cents. And so forth. Then suddenly, I guess there was a very abrupt inflation. There were no coins made dated 1878, and then 1879. Everything starts at the weights and measures and proportions for both gold and nickel that you'll see throughout the rest of this and throughout Part 2 of Venezuela coins. The only other thing is that these 4 coins were made on planchets. You may recall from Colombia, the installment on Colombia, we talked about the Waterbury Mint, how they'd made some Colombia coins. They also made some planchets of nickels and dimes in the early part of the 20th century. They also provided the planchets for these coins to the Philadelphia Mint, which are an alloy of nickel and copper and zinc. There's no standard that it was known to have tried to meet that we know of, but metallurgy has shown them to be essentially what is called German silver, or at least fairly close to it. I don't know why they call it German silver, because it's not German, it's not silver, but they have that, call it alloy that. So that was kind of an isolated thing. We would go on to make other coins for some other countries, Ecuador, Dominican Republic, Costa Rica, so forth, before we would finally resume making some coins for Venezuela. Now, in 1902, we only did 2 coins for them. There was the 2 Bolivar, only they didn't really denominate that. It says Bolivar to say that's the name of the man they're being commemorated on all of these. And you can see it's in 1902, and it says gram 10. It doesn't actually have a denomination, but it was, for all intents and purposes, a 2 Bolivar coin. And then you have what is basically the 5 Bolivar coin, and again, it just says 25 grams. The one big difference is that the 5 Bolivars are 900 fine, like a silver dollar, but the silver dollar weighs a little bit more. The lower ones, let's just look at this, were only 835. All the other lower subsidiary silver coins are therefore truly subsidiary. Well, in 1903, we get a bit more aggressive. Unfortunately, I have not been able to track down the quarter Bolivar from that. I do, however, have Even such as this is, this seems to be somewhat rare and expensive, but it's also slab, and that may be part of it. The half a gram, or 2.5 gram, that's it. So that's a half Bolivar. Then the next coin up would be the 1 Bolivar, which also I haven't been able to find yet. But there is the two Bolivar, which is, say, the 10 gramos. There's the 10, and it's hard to see that is 1903. You have to look carefully to see the stem goes to the right and not straight up like a 5. It is the 1903, but that's, yeah, I almost can't tell. And then, of course, once again, the 5 Bolivar. That's at 25 grams. And so, again, 5 milligrams, 900. Because they were more silver, partially because I think because they were kept in banks, but also just people like the big silver coin. It's all silver, has a better melt value than the subsidiary silver coins. There's a lot of these around, and they're easy to find. Then, once again, we have another hiatus. And then, just beginning to do something again, we have a coin here, 5 centimos. Boy, it's hard to get a good shot of this thing. There. Okay, so we can even see what it is. 1915. So, it was like a one shot, and then some more hiatus. Finally, we began making coins for Venezuela in earnest in 1919. Now, for 1919, we concentrated on the silver denominations. Once again, there was a quarter Bolivar, or 1.25 grams, which I still don't have. There's the half Bolivar. And you can see it's 835% silver. Grams, 2.5. There it is, 1919. Then there's the 1 Bolivar, or 5 grams. It actually seems to be a fairly nice one. Look at that, almost even a little bit of cartwheeling. 1919, lay 835. That's 0.835 silver. Grams, 5. So that's the 1 Bolivar. They have the 2 Bolivar again. Not too bad. 1919, gram 10s, 835 law. So, Liberatador. So, Bolivar obviously had a role in liberating the nation of Venezuela, presumably from the Spanish overlords. And then here's the 5 Bolivar. It's 900. And as I indicated, and you see 25 grams, it is... The 5 Bolivars are all very easy to get because, oh, well, they're all silver, so they all took care of them. Now, the 5 centimo. Now, I note here, the 5 centimo is exactly the same size and weight. I'm not sure alloy, it may just be copper nickel. But otherwise, pretty much almost very similar standards at least, certainly the same size and diameter. And probably very similar or the same weight as the old 1 cent back in 1876 and 1877. Everything went up by a factor of 5 between 1877 and 1879. So instead of 1 cent, it's 5 cents. Well, that's easy. The next value up would be the 2.5 cent, which goes up to 12.5. So it does work out, but we'll see those shortly. But we don't have that yet. We hadn't made any yet. Okay, here's 1921. Now at last we have a quarter Bolivar. And you can see there, grams 1.250, 1921. And it too is 0.835 silver. And all of these are Estados Unidos de Venezuela. That's what it will be until basically about the late 40s or early 50s. Then you start seeing República de Venezuela. But at this point, it's the Estados Unidos, United States of Venezuela. So here's the 1921. See, it just says GR, not gram. 2.500. 1921. So that's not too bad looking. And here's a 1 Bolivar from 1921. gram 5. There's a dot there, but that's the dot indicates not 0.5 grams, but just gram abbreviated. Now, they didn't make the 2 Bolivar 1921. We'll get back to that shortly. But they did have the 5 Bolivar 25. See, it says gram dot 25. That's not 0.25. Sometimes people get confused. And it sounds like, oh, it's a quarter of a gram. So no, the thing's a silver dollar. It's 25 grams. The dot is just to abbreviate the word gram for gramos, the Spanish for gram. 21, and of course he's 900. For some odd reason, the 2 Bolivar waited till the next year, 1922. And there it is. Then, 1924, they decided to make the silver coins again. There's a quarter Bolivar, which again I don't have. But I do have the half Bolivar. See here, you see the GR dot 2.500, 1924, lay 835. Okay. And then here's the 5 gram, 1924. See, even in their beat up state, they're very beautiful coins. But it's kind of the same design over and over again. This one's got a very strange yellow toning. Not sure what that is from. But anyway, this is a 10 gram from 1924. And a 25 gram. Independence, Libertad, 5 de Julio, 1811. 13 de Abril, 1860. I can't see what the rest of it is. Anyway, finally, in 1925, they did the smaller denomination. That is a very nice 5 centimos. Oh, look at that. You can really see that now. Okay, and now, for the first time, they made this up here. This is the 12.5 centimos. Estados Unidos de Venezuela, 1925. And the 7 stars, which one is a little bit bigger than the rest. So that's 12.5, which is just 5 times 2.5. It's 4 times 2.5. Well, 2 times that'd be 5, and there's 10, and another makes it to 12.5. So that's 5 times the 2.5 cent. Okay. Well, then they decided in 1926 to return to making the silver coins. And so there is our Bolivar. There's our 2 Bolivar. And there's our 5 Bolivar. Dios y Fed. God and what, Federation maybe? Independence, Liberty. Maybe Independence was one day and Liberty was the other. Okay. In 1927, we're back to making the 5 and the 12.5. There's the 5. Unfortunately, the 1927 I don't have. It's supposed to be coming to me, but it's already late. And 1929, there's another 5. And there's the 12.5 cent. There's the quarter Bolivar. Again, it's GR.1.250. 1929. Boy, that's getting small. 835. Still, United States of Venezuela. There is a half Bolivar. It's another one I don't have. Then here's the Bolivar. 1929, gram 5. Yes, okay. And 2 Bolivar. It's actually a fairly nice one here. gram.10, which is just 10 grams. 9, all 885, Estados Unidos, United States of Venezuela. And finally, the 5 Bolivar, 1925, 1929, 25 gram, that is 900 fine. Well, we'll continue from 1930 and beyond, including a gold coin in the next installment. So that is the first part of Venezuela.